Recording. Okay. Sorry, I'm not even on the right page. All right, well, basically, looking at these notes, what words do you see? Like, what does this poem have to do with? Well, yeah, so we've got nubo, like to put on a veil or to marry. All right, so probably something about some type of marriage is going on. Um, we've got something cupidus yeah, desirous or eager. And what god is that idea based on? Cupid, yeah, right? Cupid. Yeah, Cupid is the god of lust and desire. Mm. Yes.
Wait, so Cupid's Roman then?
Cupid is Roman. Eros is Greek. Eros. Eros. Yeah, like this. Eros.
Eros is the Greek version of Cupid.
Yeah, but that's different from, say, Eris. Okay, so this is love, this is discord. So the vowels. I don't know that they have it. I wouldn't know offhand. But I know she's only prevalent because she shows up in one of the apple that causes the Trojan War, basically.
Wait, that's Greek.
That's Greek, yeah. Yeah, because the Trojan War is the Greeks versus the Trojans. Yes. Okay. So something about desire, something about marriage. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a god mentioned in the passage. Yeah, so this is going to be interesting. Because is Jupiter known for like faithful marriages and stuff? No. Is he known for like seeking a lot of women though? Yeah. Is he known for also seeking men? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They all are.
Yeah. Well, so in the beginning of the Aeneid, Juno is complaining, or she's upset, and she says that there are like basically three reasons why she hates the Trojans. One of them is that Paris was a Trojan prince who picked the other goddess, not her, to be the fairest and get the apple. So that's one reason, right? So Trojan prince made the wrong decision. Second reason, Jupiter kind of was like flying around one day and he saw this other Trojan prince by the name of Ganymede. Okay, and he kind of, I guess Jupiter kind of changes his form into an eagle and carries Ganymede off into the sky. And interestingly enough, like up on Mount Olympus or in the skies, whatever, they have like a banquet hall for the gods, and in it there's a cup bearer, like the one who kind of serves the gods their drinks and stuff. And that her name is Hebe or Hebe. She is the daughter of Jupiter and Juno, and she has that cupbearer status. But then once Ganymede arrives on the scene, Hebe is no longer the cupbearer, and Ganymede becomes the cupbearer. I mean, I think she's still there, but she's not like the official, like she gets the title taken away.
A cupbearer for the gods?
Yes.
Wait, is the cupbearer the person that drinks it? Or...
No, cup bearer, like one who carries the cup. Kind of, yeah. Kind of. I mean, she's a minor, lesser deity, so she's gonna probably have less coolness about her. Like she'll be lower than the other guys.
Oh, Ganymede is a girl?
Ganymede is a boy.
Oh, Hebe is.
Hebe is a girl, yes.
I mean, I keep pretty upset about it.
Yeah, and in addition to that, she also hates the Trojans because the Trojans are going to give rise to the Romans, and the Romans are going to destroy Carthage, and Carthage is very near and dear to Juno. So those are the three reasons she hates the Trojans and doesn't want them to discover and found Rome, if that makes sense. So, I mean, she's very, what do we know about the gods? They're petty. They're petty toddlers, basically. So, yeah, most of their reasoning is not very reasonable. They're kind of just upsetty. Okay, so let's kind of get through some of this. What do we have here? Nulli se dicit mulier mea nubere male, qua mihi non si se Jupiter ipse petat. Okay, so I think we can kind of chunk it a little bit. So this is going to be something, and this is going to be something else. Okay, so we've got kind of like two sections here. So in the first line, verbs. Always look for your verbs. Do we have one? Yes. What is it? Decade. Good. Okay, so we're going to highlight. Wow, that's a little too thick. D, 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 D. Can you guys see that? Is that okay? Oh, sorry. I highlighted the wrong thing. That's blue. Nice. You're doing great. Okay. Now, when we have the verb decate, what kind of verb is that? Yeah, it's a head verb. What do head verbs introduce? Indirect statement. Yeah, there's two types of the overarching term for that is indirect discourse. There are two specific types. There's indirect question and indirect statement. If you're not sure which one it is, just say indirect discourse and you will be right. Does that make sense? Okay, but here this is indirect statement. What are the hallmarks of indirect statement? It's introduced by a head verb. And then what do we see? Infinitive verb and yep. Okay, do we have an infinitive here? Yeah. Okay, so that's an infinitive. But let's take a look at our vocab, shall we? Come on. Step it. There we go. All right, let's take a look at our note here. Se male. Okay, it's an indirect statement introduced by mea mulier dicit. Okay, nubere is a complementary infinitive with male. So do we have another infinitive in that sentence that we just looked at? Yes, we do. Okay, right here. So this is an infinitive. So this is our indirect statement verb. And this is our complementary infinitive. So far, so good? D, 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 D. D, 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 D. Okay, now the note also tells us who is the subject of decate. Yes, mea mulier is my subject. Okay, that's supposed to be red in case you're wondering. Okay, so she's our nominative here. Yes, you can pop across the office and just ask Mrs. Saranero. Okay, if she's not there, I'll go in and get it.
It's a national emergency. There are tissues.
Okay. All right, so mea mulier, what does it mean? My woman. My lady. Is that better?
Yeah, my woman said that instead.
Yeah, let's say that. We can say my gal.
My woman sounds so my gal sounds like my woman is
Sounds kind
so
of.
weird, but my man is so normal.
Oh, that is true.
Man, my man. I think my man is more gender neutral. Like my man can refer to like
But if you notice, over time, it was like my man, but then it started to be my man's. Have you heard someone say that? Like, oh, my man's did this. Like, it's not grammatically correct, but it just kind of takes away the emotional charging of it and makes it silly. It's like, oh, my man's did this.
when you talk
Mm-hmm.
to make it less.
Yeah, so maybe we could say, my woman's. Nope. That still sounds terrible. Okay, so we're going to stick with lady.
I feel like when you say like guys, just different.
I don't know. So anyway, my lady says that, okay, and now we're headed into our indirect statement. What is my accusative subject of the indirect statement? No. Good guess, though. Yep. Quam does look accusative, but that's not how it's functioning here. It would be if it was from qui.
Wait, what word is
It's a pronoun, so we got ego me, imi, he, me, tu, itibi, te. I don't think it exists. It's like sibi, say, or something like that.
I thought you were going to say sweet.
Sui, sibi. It might be that. I can't. So me, you, he, or her. Okay, so my lady says that she, say, she herself. Right, and actually, let's think about that for a second, right? You know this word, ip, say. Yeah, it's like himself, herself, itself. So it's like say, but a little extra. So it's like herself. So say is just like him or
Oh, so
her.
that's like, oh,
Yeah, so my lady says that she, male. Now, I don't believe they gloss that for us. So with one L, it would, but it's an infinitive here. Let's see. Does someone want to grab a dictionary and look it up and see if they can beat me? Mark could say, oh, she's starting. Oh, I'm going to lose. Got it. Page 256. Okay. No, you're thinking of a different word. Here, let me pick another color. Oh, I guess I'll delete that. Okay, it comes from, and you might want to write this, malo, male, malui, means to prefer.
oh, so it's not even related to like,
Nope. Nope, Biddy. Nope. 2, okay. With the dative to incline. Yep.
if I were translating this, that's like one of the words that I like wouldn't even look up in the glossary because I know it. And I would have translated it
As bad.
and would have.
Well, it wouldn't have made sense because you need some other infinitive. It would be weird to say like that. My lady says that she marries bad herself. What? What? I'm confused. There's a lot of random things going on here. Okay, so you would figure out fairly quickly that it would, like, you
It
might have
would
misidentified.
but I wouldn't have known that that was what was wrong. I probably would have been confused about
Fair enough. Okay.
something would have been wrong. You just didn't know what. Yeah.
So my lady says that she prefers. Now, prefers takes an infinitive to nubere. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, this is a little bit tricky. The only words that we haven't contended with yet are nulli, quam, and mihi. Okay. Now, quam sometimes can be a relative pronoun, but here it is not acting as a relative pronoun. What's another use of that word that we might have seen before? Sometimes with comparatives or superlatives. Then. Okay. Now, something to note, this is going to be a little bit of a weird construction, but nulli and mihi are both datives. Okay. So it's gonna, this might be a little strange, but it's basically,
What is it?
wow, I'm glad they're doing work.
Wait, is that what that's what you know said? Is that regular ID? Oh yeah. I mean
Regular euro?
regular euro. No, that's US.
Oh. All right, so my lady says that she prefers to marry nulli quam mihi. Okay, so if quam means then, we're kind of drawing a comparison here to marry nulli, nobody, then rather than me.
That sounds weird.
Uh, hmm. Yeah, because that would definitely get that dative aspect. Okay, so you know what? That's a good point. Why don't we edit that? So then she prefers to put on a veil for nobody rather than me.
He is going to put on a veil.
No. He's saying that, like, if she can't marry me, she'd prefer to marry nobody.
Aww. Yeah, I know, but I prefer to put on a veil for nobody.
Put on a veil for, like, so when you get married, like, you put on a veil for your husband. Like, you wear the veil. Your husband doesn't wear the veil.
I thought he was saying I'm going to wear a veil.
Yeah, my mom was really upset about it. I just didn't feel like having one. It was kind of annoying, and they were, well, they were like very expensive. And I went to the craft store and I made my own with like a comb, and I put flowers on the comb and everything. And then my mom was like, "Ew, that's ugly." And I was like, "Well, okay." Um, I mean, she was like, "Ah, it looks unfinished." That's what she said. And I was like, "All right, well, I mean, most of my life is unfinished, so."
What is it? How much does it cost?
You could get, I mean, you can get them like on Etsy and Amazon for like fairly inexpensive pricing, but if you went to it, like at the store where I was looking, they were anywhere from like $100 to $300.
Why?
I don't know. Because there's a markup. People know, like, if they have it, they will buy it. And so they're like, they know brides are kind of not in the right mindset because they're frantic and they're like, oh, everything has to be perfect. So they're willing to spend the money, and the bridal shops know
like
that.
A healthy mindset.
Yes, and that's why it's really nice.
Yeah, and also, like, I don't know, why do you have to wear it?
It's a tradition. I mean, if you, so like, I think from the Jewish tradition, I was talking to my pastor about this. Um, when you get married, like the bride is supposed to be fully like covered. And do you know the story of, I think it's, yeah, Leah and Rachel? The father does a little switcheroo and he says, "Oh, you'll marry Rachel. Like you've worked for me for 7 years. You'll certainly marry her. You've earned it." But then, like they perform the marriage ceremony, and he looks and he's like, "Oh no, this is Leah."
He puts
Be-
Leah under the veil, so Jacob doesn't know, and then he lives there, and it's Leah, and then he has to do it for another
7 years. Yep.
This is like the ultimate. Rachel's like beautiful, and Leah's
Mid.
it's not as beautiful.
Not as.
It's also like I feel slightly unwell. I feel like I'm on a sugar rush, but like unwell right now.
Oh, that was unrelated. Is marriage making you nauseous?
I have a question. Did you grow up watching Say Yes to the Dress?
No.
You didn't?
No. My best friend's mom would like sit on the couch every night and watch it, but I never.
But yeah, this is check my heart rate. It's like 100 right now.
Do you want to go to the health center?
I'm fine. I get like this.
So then what? You tell me things so I don't do anything about it? Like, what, what do you want me to do?
Or something like you don't want to. If I die, maybe go to the health center soon.
Yeah.
Well, drink water. There's water down there.
Yeah, you should.
Water solution, everything. And don't breathe.
It kind of is. Do you need fresh air? Do you want to open a window? You should eat no candy, especially after the talk we had last class.
There is a medicine in China called hot water.
And I'm not surprised by that. I think it does. Yeah, I had read somewhere that like if you're a female, sorry fellas, if you're a female and you're around your time, if you drink cold water, it makes the symptoms worse.
Yeah, I guess too. I thought it's just cold, like not like physically cold, but like seafood, like
It's like a cooling food rather than a warm food.
yeah, not like if you eat something cold, you will feel worse. I feel like it's also why everything is like terrible in the winter because it's cold everywhere. So then there's no like
To
Do
like
you know what I mean? Yeah, like
to heat things up.
I don't know what I do.
I don't know.
What?
A microwave. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Not like that.
I feel like hot water, like Asian moms, hot water is like the solution to everything. Doesn't matter if you're dying of a gunshot wound, if you drink hot water, you'll be fine.
It always has to be hot water.
Yes, yeah, it's so fun.
Like my mom would freak out if she saw me drinking like a cup of like ice water in the morning, which all my friends do.
Okay.
To prefer, right?
Yeah. My lady says that she prefers to put on a veil for nobody rather than me. Non si. Not if Jupiter ipse.
Himself.
Jupiter himself, yeah.
Why do you choose self? If Jupiter were to see.
Sought her. So this say here is my direct object. Accusative.
Oh yeah.
Not if Jupiter himself.
So it's like not even if Jupiter, like she would still rather marry him.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. This word here, petat, it comes from peto petere, petivi petitus, but it's petat, not petet. There's a vowel change here, so what mood are we in? Yeah. Present subjunctive. Okay, so not if Jupiter himself were to seek.
Isn't he a bit confident? Too confident?
Here? It's a poem. Who knows what he's really thinking? He's nuts, I say. NVTS nuts.
Rents you 100 kilos.
Love sonnets. That's right.
This, like, do you think this is an actual conversation? So,
I mean, I can't say that I ever like went up to my husband and said, "If I could not have you, my dearest love, I would rather marry nobody. Not even if Ryan Gosling himself were to seek me." Like I wouldn't say that out loud. I mean, I might say, "Oh, honey, you the best."
no, like we were talking, like I asked you who she was, and you said that unfair, so like.
So, well, well, think about what poetry is. Is it true? Is it not? Who knows?
Self-insert.
Could he be imagining things? Possibly. But as far as I know, I think he's like, maybe the people surrounding them knew who she was, like who Lesbia actually was. But we don't know because he never uses her actual name. He uses a code name, right? So even like if you imagine it, like let's say I'm a really famous writer and I want to keep my personal life kind of private, but I still want to write love poetry about my partner. I would use a code name, and like people might know who he is, people might not know. But he knows who he is. So in the same way, I'd imagine Lesbia probably saw this or may have known about it. And
Wait, so Catullus is like a pen name? Or you saying
no, Lesbia is. Lesbia is not her actual name. Lesbia is a code name, kind of. Yeah, but this is not. But remember, right? This idea of writing poetry and using a name like that, it's a tradition that's seen in Greek poetry before Catullus, right? They say like, oh, well, so, okay. Do you remember we talked about it very, very briefly, and it was a question on a quiz. There's a Greek poet, Sappho. She's female, and she writes her poetry, and she also writes her poetry to someone named Lesbia. That's not her actual name, though. It's a code name for somebody else. Okay, so what Catullus is doing is he's kind of hearkening back to the tradition of Sappho in Greek poetry, and like doing it in a similar style to show that he's a fancy boy who's well read and culturally cool, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's interesting. Also, like, I feel like he's probably exaggerating here.
Could be. I mean, we don't know. Catullus wrote a bunch of poems, so I think he likes poems.
No, I love me.
Okay. Now we've got our other couplet. And this is a nice little chunky chunk here. Yep. Dekit. She says, yes. Yes. All right. Okay, this is going to be a little bit tricky, so let's kind of parse things out as we see them. Anything we can identify in this line here?
The
Second.
Dekit, yeah, let's take care of that. Okay, so that's a verb for sure. Invento is a prepositional phrase. Ooh, okay. So, well, actually, let's talk about that. Do you see this et right here? Okay, so wento is definitely ablative, and there's an et right there. Could rapida be ablative also?
Yes.
How about aqua?
Oh, same.
And conceptually, they're fairly similar things, right? So wento is wind, and aqua is water. Okay, and rapida just would be describing the aqua. So we actually have a fairly long prepositional phrase here, which we can also deal with. Whoopsie daisy, silly goose, what are you doing? Okay, so that's your prepositional phrase.
Weird preposition.
Yep, but there's a reason why he's doing it. Not just because he's Catullus.
He always got a reason. I was like using a pencil to circle that. Just like a circle. Where I leave it like open and then.
Yeah, that's what I do. I would do it like that and that.
Oh, that's smart.
And then if you like, just to make sure you know it, I would just do this if you want to put a little uniting bracket underneath. Okay, now there's also something else we can identify in that last line that's fairly simple. Yeah, what is that? Is an infinitive. Okay, so we've got a verb, and there's a verb also that requires an infinitive, a portet. Okay, so far we're making our way here. We've got some things labeled. Okay, now in this line, line 3, what's my subject? Mulier, right? Think of that word. It's mulier, mulieris. So any other form of that word that's not nominative is going to have like this plus an ending. It's going to be longer, right? So we know that this has to be nominative because it's just the nominative form. And it's a lot shorter than the oblique cases. Okay. Okay. Now, in here, well, let's deal with these. Do they give us any notes on this? Let's double checky, shall we? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so they're going to give us some stuff here. All right, mulier cupido. These words belong inside the relative clause that begins with quod, but are placed to the left of the clause marker. So a more common word order would have been sed quod mulier dicit. All right, but it's kind of flipped. And they do give us a little info on amanti as well. Okay, it's a present participle, and it's equivalent to the noun lover.
So it means lover?
Like loving one, if that makes sense. Right, so remember, participle.
Knowing, but you can just say it like that.
Yep. Yeah, so because let's kind of think through that, right? Amanti is a present active participle, and it means like the loving something, and it would usually be used to describe somebody. But remember, if an adjective stands on its own, you can use it substantively, which is why we're allowed to translate this here as lover rather than the loving person. Does that make sense? Okay.
Wait, so it's a participle?
In form, yes. In form, it's a participle.
So like, are we gonna like mark it?
Well, let's kind of mark it. So it is a pap, but we're going to say used as noun. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so in this, based on the note that we just read, this quad, what is it? What is it introducing? Yeah, it's introducing a relative clause. So this is our relative pronoun. Introducing relative clause. Okay, so in terms of word order, this quad actually belongs here. Okay, but Catullus is inverting the word order for whatever. Partially meter, partially to kind of turn the phrase on its head and just make you think about it a little extra. A little extra. Yeah, let's say it that way. All right, so she says, now quod is neuter, so we're going to say that thing understood, that which, right? Because qui, quae, quod, this is actually a nominative relative pronoun. And then mulier is the subject of the. I'm sorry, quod is accusative. What am I saying? That which, right? Because she, yeah, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. This is yellow. Sorry if you, did you highlight it? You can throw rocks at me later. That which, mulier, that which, whoa, sorry, I don't know why I changed colors here. That which a lady instead of woman, that which a lady decet says, Now, we've got Cupido and Amanti. So think of it this way, right? When you have these present active participles, do you remember what endings they take? If you have a sorry, I'm going to scroll a little bit. Nope. Yep, NS or NT, so it's amans, amantis. All right, so if we follow that pattern, then these take third declension endings. So if that's the case, right, let's go through our third declension endings. X, I, S, I, E, N, E, E, S, U, M, I, B, U, S, E, S, I, B, U, S, third declension endings. Yeah, and guess what? I made that one up. I'm really proud of that. Okay, anyway, I appreciate it. So if it's a Monty, what case is it? It's dative, yeah. Okay. Okay, now let's deal with Cupido. Do they tell us anything about that? Yes, they do. Okay, so Cupidus aum is just your run-of-the-mill first, second declension adjective. So let us go through, if it's first or second declension, let's go through our first or second declension endings. Second declension masculine, ready? Is, e, o, o, e, orum, is, os, is. All right, so could Cupido be also dative? Yeah, okay. So these are definitely going together, Amanti and Cupido. I keep hearing Amanti, and I think of like Amanti Benson. I mean, I would be too. Yeah, true. They look like they're trudging off to the mines with their Dunkin' cups. Okay, so my lady says that she prefers to put on a veil for nobody rather than me, not even if Jupiter himself were to seek her. She says that which a lady says, Cupido amanti. What's my keyword for the dative again? 2 or 4. So we're going to say here, 2 here. 2, a Cupido amanti, an eager lover. Comma. Okay. Now I think we need to look up a word, apportet. They don't give us that. I don't know. I know. Yeah, this chapter is kind of like out of pocket, and I'm not a fan. Um,
Mention of being out of practice stuff just make other people awkward.
yes. Okay, so let's find the word. Where is it? Okay, so another vocab term for this. It's a verb. I lost it. Where'd it go? Ah, portet, portere, for to eat. Okay, so this is actually an example of an impersonal verb. That means it is right, it is proper.
Impersonal verb.
Yes, Annabelle?
So, like, in the dictionary, the first word is a portent. That's so interesting.
Yeah,
Kind of weird that it's what.
it's because it's an impersonal. Like, let's look up, let's see what leaket is. Because that, if they do it the same way, then we know that that's pretty common. Oh, strange. Nope, never mind. Wrong word. Yeah, they do. So for impersonals, they kind of start it with that. So for the verb, it is permitted or it is allowed. It's licet, licere, licuit. So it's another impersonal, and they start with like the.
So, is it a deponent?
It's not. It's just an impersonal. So it's like there's no real subject. It's just that nebulous it, right? Like it is allowed or it is pleasing. Like we don't know what that it is. They don't really say it specifically. Yeah, it's just like an impersonal subject, right? So here, same thing with a portet, right? So it is proper. Sorry, she says that which a lady says to an eager lover, comma, it is proper to write, scrivere, in vento, on the wind, and rapida aqua, and in here we're going to say rapidos is flowing. Okay, so let's we've translated now. Let's take a step back. All right. My lady says that she prefers to put on a veil for nobody rather than me, not if Jupiter himself were to seek her. She says, that which a lady says to an eager lover, it is proper to write on the wind and in the flowing water. Okay. Is their love... Are they married? No. So is it proper? No. So what should she be writing down her feelings? No, probably not, because that's incriminating. If you write something on the wind or in the water, does it remain? It goes away. Okay, so it's interesting here that each couplet, like if you think about it, right, this first couplet talks about marriage, right? The idea of marriage. And marriage is kind of like a pact that's lasting and kind of set in stone. And then down here, he's talking about words that are to be wiped away, fleeting, not really recorded officially, right? So you've got two contrasting couplets here, which is kind of an interesting thing. Yes, Ruth. You could say envy. That's fine. Okay. And just I'd like to pay a little bit of attention here with this prepositional phrase, in vento et rapida and aqua. Notice the word order here, right? If you can imagine it, like these are the words being written, and where are they being written? On these things. And it's like inside. inside that prepositional phrase. Isn't that kind of cool? Like he's trying to illustrate for you what he's saying with not just words, but like the word order.
The Latin part is so much more visual than poetry in English. Like in English,
Mm-hmm.
people read poetry, but if you read it in Latin, like if you lived in that time, you wouldn't like go into an oration.
Actually, you would go to orations. That's usually how most people experienced it because literacy rates were not fairly high unless you were one of the elite who could afford education.
But then does it just sound like someone speaking?
I mean, I think to some degree, one of the things that we have to wrap our heads around, and even sometimes I struggle with it, right? I've said it time and time again, language is a living, breathing thing, and the structure of it can sometimes explain to you the way that culture is and what they emphasize, and it can help you like figure out how they think. So for German, for example, right? They're very, very structured. Words have to go in a particular place in a particular order. But it's interesting because usually the verb is either in the second position or the last position of the sentence. So similarly to Latin, you have to wait all the way until the end to get to the main verb. So that means that at any given time, you're tracking more than one clause at once. Whereas in English,
Wait, when you read it, when you like hear it, or when you
yeah, when you hear it, which is hard. That's really hard. But what that tells me about their mindset is that they're able to comprehend and track more than one piece of information at a time. Whereas in English, right, we don't do that. We kind of just like, we have to finish a clause before we start the next one, and so on and so forth.
It probably isn't that hard. Like it probably comes naturally to them. It's not like
Yep.
other languages come naturally to other people.
Yep. And yeah, so exactly.
different comprehensive skill.
It is a different comprehensive skill. I mean, I'm sure like were we raised Roman, this would be easy. Like were we raised understanding Latin, like this would seem easy because we're used to that. You know, we're used to waiting for the main verb. Yeah,
Well,
so
if they're trying to understand English, it would be difficult. There's a lot of things in English that they're trying to learn.
exactly. Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, language is kind of just it's a way to quantify the physical world and talk about it, but the way that we describe things and the words that we have reflect a lot about the people who use them, and that's why language is so interesting.
You never studied linguistics?
Who, me? Nope. I should. I wanted to. It's interesting for sure. Okay, let's stop.